When you are optimizing, you are not adapting. If we can understand this concept, it will separate a decent training program from a very good one. The key idea to take home is to be mindful of your training goals with every exercise and every session that you undertake. Now, plyometrics are thought of as jump training by many people, and this is not incorrect. However, it doesn't do justice to the power, pun intended, that plyometrics can have within your training. More accurately, plyometrics are not just jumping actions. They can also be, for example, plyometric push-ups. However, when you are throwing resistance or moving with resistance, this is known as ballistic training, which is technically different. For example, medicine ball pushes. Contact time with the ground is also considered when classifying an exercise as either plyometric or ballistic. Ballistic exercises are velocity-based, where the acceleration of an object is a key factor, whereas plyometric exercises are associated with a minimal contact time with the ground. It can be confusing, however, it's not important for the purpose of this video. Both forms of training, plyometric and ballistic, are both very useful for athletes within their training. So I want you to think of plyometrics as an eccentric contraction which then rapidly transitions to a concentric contraction. The eccentric phase can be thought of as preloading a muscle ready for action, the stretch. The transition is the time between the eccentric and concentric phase. The concentric phase uses that stored energy to increase the force of the movement. A simple way for you to think of a plyometric exercise is as a spring, and they are great for developing power. And the really important concept which makes plyometrics so valuable for athletes is something called the stretch-shortening cycle. The stretch-shortening cycle is this rapid cyclical muscle action where you have an eccentric contraction quickly followed by this concentric contraction. And this is how you produce a large amount of force. For example, in rugby, the stretch-shortening cycle is everywhere, from sidestepping to sprinting to the try line. If you consider that jumping from a surface or sprinting are plyometric, you can understand how important these concepts are to athletic performers, because these movements are everywhere within sports. But here's the point of this video. If you're optimizing, you're not adapting. And if you're adapting, you're not optimizing. What does that mean? Well, think about this. Plyometrics are exceptional for developing power. However, for many people, especially in a lot of home workouts that I see on YouTube and elsewhere, plyometrics are used as a calorie burning tool. And so you're not wrong if you're using plyometrics to burn calories, to help to create a caloric deficit, to burn fat if that is your goal. However, if you are optimizing caloric burn through the use of plyometrics, you are not creating the adaptation of power. Do you see how that works?
For example, someone does a box jump. They're like, okay, box jumps, I want to get better power in my legs. So they'll go and do like, all right, let's spar for 5 rounds, and then I'll go do 100 box jumps as fast as I can. You're not getting any faster like that. You're just getting more tired. That will not improve your power at all. You're actually jumping at a very submax speed the whole time because you're already fatigued. So if you want to use those for power, now if you're using it for conditioning, fine, no problem. But if you're using it for the sake of improving your foot speed or your power or your strength or your explosiveness,
you should be well rested.
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2, 3 reps, take a break, etc.
Because ultimately, using plyometrics for power is programmed differently to plyometrics used in these home workouts where you're just doing repeated repetitions for time. And Dr. Schoenfeld, who I don't agree with on everything, but I do put him in many videos because I do like the culture and the way that he presents his information. He says, if you attempt to perform them in a manner designed to increase fat burning, you'll necessarily compromise the ability to initiate the stretch-shortening cycle. Worse, you're likely to compromise form as fatigue sets in, thereby increasing the risk of injury. Take home. Perform plyos if you want to develop explosiveness, not to get shredded. If you want to optimize fat loss, focus on diet and then selectively add in cardiovascular exercise as warranted in the context of your training program. And so I want you to think about your training goals, and this is just one example. Are you training for athletic performance, for power? If so, performing plyometrics to failure or with high repetitions and creating a level of fatigue is not going to cause that adaptation that you want, but you will aid towards your goal of fat loss if you are in a caloric deficit. Of course, performing them with good technique is vital. So I hope this video is useful, and please remember this idea that if you are optimizing, you are not adapting. If you are adapting, you are not optimizing. You can't have both. So be clear about why you are training, what the goal of your exercise session is, and what the goal of your specific exercises within your session is. I'm James Linker, Shredded Sports Science. I'll see you soon.